torn.
Better Call Matt.
15 years deep.
This one's called Twinkle Tunes.
All right, here it is recited for you again. When you're lost, don't know where to turn. Better call Matt. You've got a lot to learn. From the highs to the lows, I've seen it all. Youth pastors rise, just pick up and call. Better call Matt. I'm here on the line. Answering the call, let's make it shine. Lead locals the way, guiding you through. One call away, I'm here for you. Verse 2. In the Northwest, where leaders are born, I'm here to help, no need to be torn. 15 years deep, I've walked the road. Call me now, I'll lighten your load. Better call Matt, I'm here on the line. Answering the call, let's make it shine.
Remix.
Lead locals the way, guiding you through. One call away, I'm here for you. Phone rings again. There you go. Hopefully this helps you visualize it even more. Once you add the music, it's gonna come alive.
Hey, thanks, ChatGPT. I appreciate you. Welcome to Better Call Matt.
Welcome back.
Hey, we're on episode 2. We had such a great time with Yoyo that we decided to invite you back for part 2.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
How you been after it's been a few months.
It's been a few months, but I feel great.
Good.
Feel
You look
awesome.
great.
Thank you.
You literally look exactly the same, just different outfits.
Yeah, it's
Because it's you.
crazy how that happens.
Yeah. No, hey, loved our talk last time. We've been taking some phone calls. We've been taking calls from youth pastors. I've been a youth pastor for over 15 years. You've been in youth ministry now for well over 5.
Yeah, well over 5.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least my whole life, technically, because I'm a PK, but
That's true.
in it.
That's true.
Working it.
Yeah.
Got a caller,
Oh,
Isaiah Wilson.
Oh, so let's just kick this right off
let's
then.
go
Yeah,
into
let's
it.
go
Yeah.
ahead and kick it off.
Yeah,
We got
yeah.
a live caller here. In fact, this caller comes from literally right now. They DM'd us. Is that right, Kaylee?
Yep,
So-
Isaiah Wilson just DM'd you and he's ready to jump in.
Wow, I love it. Okay, hey, Isaiah, why don't you introduce yourself, where you're from, and just the story.
Yeah, man. I'm originally from Eugene, Oregon. My guy, Matt, man. I actually got linked up with you my first year
Yes.
of ministry.
I remember that.
And actually funny is going to your conference, I have became great friends and now a spiritual mentor of mine is Isaiah Robinson.
Oh, come on. I love
and-
Pastor Isaiah Robertson. Yeah, no,
And
that's great.
So, like, I was able to make all these connections, but I took a year off of ministry. and
Hold
I'm
on,
just
hold on.
really
I'm sorry.
kinda-
We couldn't hear you because I hadn't picked up the phone yet.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm
Now we can
from
hear you.
Eugene, Oregon, and now I hail in northern Washington, a place called Linden, Washington.
Okay.
And honestly, I took a year off of ministry really because I was just at a point of just trying to figure out what it meant to be a father and a dad. I didn't really have one, so
I love that.
I was kind of learning on the fly. And
Can
you
I
know,
just
our
stop
first
you right
ministry
there,
was-
Isaiah? Can I just stop you?
Yeah.
There is not enough people that celebrate what you just said. You know, ministry's great. God's called us, but He's called us first to the family. And
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for your faithfulness to your family, because in a day and age that we're in, where people highlight pastors and how they don't have great families, moral failure, all that stuff, you
Yeah.
hunkered down and you said, God, I know what I'm called to first. And
That's
because of that, God's going to bless you in this new season that you find yourself in, man. That's
I appreciate that.
I love
man.
that. So
And-
family's doing well, kids are good, one day at a
yeah,
time.
so I got a son. He's a month old, and I have a 2-year-old daughter. But my big question for you guys to go through all that was going back into ministry. I have had this just more in my conscious, but some subconscious, I believe too, is I feel like I'm starting over. like I've never done ministry before. What does this look like? So now coming into it, my big question is, first year of ministry, going into a church, a different region, a different demographic of people, like all those things, what is the first thing that you would do going in there, really not knowing much other than the people that you've had conversation with?
That is a great question.
That's
I don't know
tough.
if you want to start it off, or
I mean,
you want me to.
I could definitely speak to.
Yeah, really great
stepping into
question.
your first year. I've been through a lot of. I think we said at the beginning of the episode. I've been at least over 5 years, but in that 5 years, there's been a lot of changeover for me.
Okay.
First being a high school director for like a year, and then becoming Youth Alive assistant director, and then at the flip of a dime, the director of Youth Alive in Arizona, and then all of a sudden Northwest director coordinator, and so like all these different changes, and so I feel like I'm pretty used to jumping into new scenarios that I'm not used to. One of the things I did when I first became the director or even the youth pastor is I did not try and change anything for the first year. I didn't want to try and come in with my own agenda and say that doesn't work, so we're gonna take that out of here immediately. It's like, nope. I just want to hear, well, why is that there? Because what if that's like a tradition thing that they hold on to dearly, and you just rip it out from them? They don't like you anymore because of that. You don't know. And so for me, the main thing for me for the first year was just learning the role and learning the people, mainly the people, of like, okay, so here's how the pastor operates. Here's how my leaders are going to operate. Here's how X, Y. Like, I just wanted to learn where I was. That way I knew I could grow the best or most effectively.
No, that's good.
That's good, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Man, that's really good. And it's a big move. This is a big move for your family. I think to continue to acknowledge that is huge.
Yeah.
Just in our society these days, I'll talk to young ministers or people that want to be in ministry, and I begin to ask them, what do you want your ministry to look like? And they begin to tell me what other people's ministries are looking like, what they've seen on social media, what they think a pastor is and how that works. And there's not enough people that say, God, you call me and I will go.
Wow.
No matter how difficult, no matter how hard this is, I know you've called me, and so I'm going to go. And so I want to commend you for, you're taking your whole family state lines because God has called you to do that.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't always look great. Sometimes it's difficult and it's hard, but you're being obedient to God. And I think that's something we don't want to skip through too quick there.
Yeah.
Is that we're in the day and age we live in now, it's very easy to create a centerfold of ministry of what God will. If it doesn't look like this, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So that's great. And so coming into now that new role, I'm going to just continue to echo what you said. It's going to take you time, not only to learn the ministry and the culture that you're entering into, because why we want to get, we've said this before, get context before we get comment. Figure out get to know the church history.
Yeah.
Before you start changing something, figure out why in the first place it was already there. Who was it? Who started it? Whose idea are you bagging on that you're talking to right to their face and you don't even know? That you're bagging on their idea that they created 10 years ago in their church, and that's a family that's been there for 40 years, and they've bled, they've sweat, they've cried, they've nailed nails in the walls, they've prayed circles around that church, and you're coming in, the fourth youth pastor, after 5 years, coming in to say what you're going to change. Just put yourself there. They're already expecting of how you're going to act. Why don't we catch them off guard for a moment? Go, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to learn for a year and figure out and get the church history. Not that you're not going to be driven to win one more soul for Jesus. But before we start talking about winning more souls for Jesus, why don't we ask God, who have you already entrusted with me at those students at that church? Let's not get so caught off of like, what campus club are we going to start, although I love campus clubs, until we figure out who's in our church in the first place, who God's entrusted us with, those families, with those kids and those teenagers. Be present in those kids' lives. Learn their names, learn their birthdays. The first thing I did in my new ministry that I was a part of, my first 6 months, is I took every single kid, or gave the opportunity in our database, took them out to Froyo, and did a group at a time. So, let's say you have 50 kids. Well, then let's do 10 a week. And take them out, be present, learn their name. You have no agenda. Do not cast vision to them. Don't tell them about what small groups you're going to start launching. Who are you? Tell me your story. Why do you love your youth ministry? Listen for that question. Why do you love your youth ministry? And then for that first year, pour into that and that goodness of why they love it, why they're coming. Earn trust, and trust takes time.
You guys pretty much answered them, and thank you for addressing thing about the golden calf, like things they hold on to, because I often forget that when you go into a place, you can be basically spitting on something that somebody implemented and it not work out so well.
No, and it may need change. Please hear me out. It may, but first learn, grow, figure it out, understand why they're doing the same things. Isaiah, you're not moving there to rent. You're moving there to own a home. When you go into a rental or you go over to a hotel, you treat it however you're going to treat it, and you leave after however long until, how can you serve me? Where are my towels at? How's room service going? You know what? But when you're moving into the home, it's okay that the carpet's ugly because you're in it for the long haul, and it's going to take time to remodel the youth ministry, and it takes even more time to remodel a life and to disciple students.
That's good.
All right. Well, hey, we'll stay in touch. Pastor Isaiah, thank you for that DM here while we were shooting and filming. Right on the spot.
Man.
Better call Matt. Love you and believe in you. Thank you for what you're doing.
All right. Hey, and if I can make a suggestion real quick.
Yeah.
Make sure you let all youth pastors know youth ministry is not a stepping stone.
Woo! That is good.
All right, love y'all, man. Take
Love
care.
you. Man, that was so good.
That was
It's
great.
not a stepping stone.
It's not.
If it's a stepping stone, then it has an age to it.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as I turn 30, all my pastor friends, hey, when are you going to plant a church? When are you going to be lead pastor? You know, and I believe in the next generation. I hope I can do this as long as I possibly can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they used to need an older brother, but now they need an older uncle.
Yeah.
So you just own that age, and I think that was really good that he said
That's awesome.
that.
How many times?
So,
how many
wow.
peers of mine are flipping over 6 months?
Yeah.
And they're a new youth pastor at a different church.
Yeah, no, that's good. Let's keep talking. Maybe around this theme, we have some more callers in, and so
Got another caller?
we do.
Seth is on the line.
Okay,
Well,
great.
There we go.
Hey, let's go. Seth is on the line. We're live here. We're on Better Call Matt. Hey, Pastor Seth, let us know who you are, where you're from, where you're doing ministry, and how long you've been doing youth ministry for.
I love it. I love it. My name's Seth. I'm a youth pastor at Portland Christian Center. I'm up here. I just moved to Portland about 5 weeks ago. And so, yeah, man, it's been great. Just a new season of ministry and just super excited for what God's going to do.
So you moved to Portland how long ago?
About 5 weeks ago, bro.
Wow, 5 weeks. So you're in it. You're in the city of Portland. You're like
In the
in
city,
that
baby.
city. You're not on the outskirts, because when people say where I'm from, I always say Seattle, but I'm actually from Renton. Are you in Portland?
I am in Northeast Portland.
Wow,
Yes,
Dude.
that's great. So we know God knows we need ministry and churches down there and youth
sir.
ministries.
That's right,
You have
man.
been called,
That's right.
brother.
That's great. So
Wow.
talk to us a little bit. Share a story. Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, man. The question was, how do we use events and not waste resources? And I think about events. I think about my first event when I was 19 years old, my first youth pastor job when I was up in the Seattle area. And I remember we called it rally night. It was amazing. And I thought it was incredible because we had like 90 students there. And to me, that was a big benchmark.
Yeah.
And then we come back next week, and I'm expecting 90 students to be there every week. And I come back next week, and there's about 45. And so I get upset with myself. I'm like, man, what did I do wrong? Did I not have good enough follow-up? Was the event not good enough? All of these things. But I think when we're planning events, we got to take a step back and ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this event?
Yeah.
Because
is
Paul
so
says, I plant the seed, but Apollos waters the seed.
Ooh.
And so is the event that I'm having, is it meant to plant the seed in a student's life who has never heard the gospel? Because if that's so, then you got to be okay with the fact that they might not come back next week.
Mm-hmm.
They might be coming back next year, or in 2 years, or in 15 years. You never know. Or is the purpose of this event to water the seed of the student that's been faithfully coming to my youth ministry?
Yeah.
And so I think you got to weigh those when you're planning an event and asking yourself if the event was effective or not.
No, that's really good. So what's your question out of that? Because that is dude, I'm with you 100%. We got to determine what events are worth doing, what aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. What makes an event effective?
Man, you went there.
Jeez.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
You're gonna
makes
spend
an
all
event
this time,
effective?
all this money on a big event, man. What makes it effective? What makes a youth pastor come out saying, you know what, that was a W, that was good?
No, that's really, really good. And here's the thing: there are so many events that we can be a part of, not only put on, but that our church is putting on.
Mm-hmm.
So asking that question of what makes this event effective is a really important question. But you're not only asking that for your specific youth ministry, but the ones you're being invited to come to a part of your church. Women's events, men's events.
Yeah.
Let's keep the list going. There
Youth
are a lot
events.
of events. Youth events, there's kids events
There's
that they expect us
father
to be at.
events, men's events.
There are so many events, and some churches are very
many.
heavy event driven. Some that are watching right now, listening in right now, are not heavy driven at all. But this question is still the same, is what makes events effective?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's very easy to be able to over spiritualize every event that we do, because you can keep pointing the events back to Jesus. Well, we're preaching Jesus, and so the purpose of this event is that our youth are around that preaching.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what church is for.
that's what. Yeah. So we got to figure out how that is. The first thing I would do is, you're coming into a brand new church. I love this because now we have another person that's just getting into this new role, and you're coming in and you're thinking. The first caller said, "What do I even need to do to start?" You're calling in saying, "Okay, I know some of the stuff that I need to do that I'm starting, but I also know that we need to have some events to create some momentum here, some things that kids can get excited about." Now, naturally, we have an event every single week called your midweek, or be called your Sunday night, or your youth ministry gathering. We got to look at those first and foremost before you start talking about what events should I do. Do you have the most important event down? The two most important events for a youth pastor are Sundays, every Sunday, and your youth ministry of when you meet. If you don't have those two things down, then please save yourself, save your kids trouble. Don't do any events until you got your Wednesdays or your Sundays or your Tuesdays on youth night rocking, where if a kid invited a friend, not only do your church kids love to be there, but they trust you with their friends.
It's good.
That's a hard truth. That's a hard truth.
It's a hard truth. And I got to say, 80% of youth pastors should not be doing any events.
Oof.
I'm gonna say that
Say it again, man.
because we get so sidetracked. And by the way, the church's resources and tithe dollars that we are now going over on budgets on these events when we don't even have a game plan for our the consistency, the small group leaders, pouring money into leadership, into resources. But meanwhile, we're having these events with 1,000 people out. Listen, if I had all the money I could have in the world, all I have to do to get 1,000 kids out is say, I'm going to pay every kid $100 if you come out to this event.
True.
So the goal is not attendance at your events or doing tons of events. The goal is this helping highlight discipleship within my church? Jesus grew crowds, and the few followed him after.
Yeah.
You know, truthfully.
That's good.
Yeah. So you got anything on that?
I almost want to speak to like throwing an event, because I feel like youth pastors can say like, should I go to this event? But as someone who like throws multiple events a year with my network, and even my own event through Youthful Live, I think one thing you have to ask yourself when you throw an event is like, what's the win? Like why? Like it's
good.
A lot of people say like,
really good.
This is the why, you know, because everybody's watched that Simon Sinek video, the Golden Circle, the why. We all understand like you need to have a reason why you're doing this. But like if you don't have a win, then you're just everybody in your team is gonna make one up for themselves. Like oh, this was the win. This was the win. Like no, this is the. So for me, when it comes to our Youthful Live one days, the win for me is multiple campus club signups or campus missionary signups. I'm looking for students to buy into the vision and become a campus missionary. That's my win for my one day. So everything I do is geared towards that win. And so I think when you have a lot of resources or even very few resources, I think it really clears up a lot of questions of like, should I even buy this? Should I even do this? Or like, well, does it go towards the win? No, then don't buy it, you know? And I think a lot of times it's kind of, and I say this lightly because Matt, you are known for the extravagant and the creative when it comes to your events. So I'm not coming at you.
No, totally.
But I feel like a lot of times, like youth pastors, when they get a budget and they have like all these ideas that are like, why do we have like this random boxing ring outside, and no one like this doesn't do anything. Like it just creates hype. But like if they come for the hype, they're gonna stay for the hype. And if there's no hype on Wednesdays, they're just gonna leave. That's good. So like
I want to stop real quick because we put all the resources in that one event, but we can't sustain that every week.
Exactly.
So now kids are only coming to the special events.
Yes, exactly. So like if youth pastors throw this huge event and you say you're gonna get this giveaway, you get this pizza, you're gonna get this, they're gonna come for that and they're gonna want to stay for that. But if you make it all around the word, the gospel, the presence, of course, if they come for that, they'll stay for that. So they'll come for what they came for.
It definitely needs to be both. That's good.
So I think it definitely needs to be both. Yes, exactly. So I think when you have an event, you need to ask yourself, what's the win? And is this effective towards the win? And that saves up a lot of time and resources that you don't need.
That's great. And your pastors and the events you do, and I don't know your church's events, all that kind of stuff. So this isn't personal. I'm just talking holistically here for our listeners. There could be so many events, and your pastor keeps saying, well, this is good because it does. We want our kids around all these different things. True. That could be true. They could actually be great events. But how often does the church need to produce something in order to disciple kids? Or is there a rhythm to it, and you don't need it every single event where their events should be, I'm reading my Bible daily, I'm weekly engaging with community. There's got to be a point where the church says, we're doing an event every single month. Can't we allow them to schedule a barbecue with their friends and just hang out at their house? Do we really have to schedule a monthly groups gathering, or can our group leaders just run with it and go with it? You know, do we really need to be at a men's event once a month? Or could we highlight those two big ones that the church does do where they bring in the special speakers? And we'll make sure during group launch, we go to those two events, maybe not the other ones, to help us get the men together and have a nice fun thing for them to do before they start their youth small groups.
That's so true.
So there's a back and forth here, and it depends on what church you're from.
Because even with youth pastors, the number one feedback I get with my events He's like, I wish we had more time for community. I wish we had more time for this, like just to talk with each other. And I'm like, you can do that outside the event. You can go get a coffee.
You guys have cars. Drive to DQ after a youth ministry.
Yes.
We don't need food every single week afterwards.
Exactly. So I'm like, there's a lot of things you can encourage them for, because the youth pastor will say, I wish we had more time to connect with other churches in that area. You have a phone. You have Instagram. You can reach out to the youth pastors. Hey, let's get a coffee. I want to know your heart and see if we can do this youth ministry thing together. And some of the best, Youth Alive clubs that I've seen, just because that's my context, is when a youth pastor decided to reach out to all the churches in his local area and say, hey, how can we take this school campus together? And they grew like crazy because they decided to do community outside of an event, outside of youth convention, outside of camp, and decided we can just meet for coffee on our own, Yeah. So I think that's also important. Is like,
That's huge.
And I want to be careful too. I don't want to look like I'm putting down events. If you know me, I'm known for events. We throw a heck of events.
Yes, he does.
Because I believe in that touch point. I do believe you look at the life of Jesus. He sat down around a table, around the dinner table, but he also preached to the crowd. It's a both. You can't have one and say I don't want the other.
Yep.
The life of full rounded church can have both. So
good, man.
Love the call. I love that scripture that you pointed out.
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing in Portland. We need more great youth ministries in Portland. So I'm thankful for your obedience and your faithfulness to the call of God into this next generation. It's inspiring.
Hey, man, you're inspiring. Come on, man.
Well, hey, I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy. Thank you, Pastor Seth, for the call.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Wow. No, just such a great.
Wow. Yes, that's connected.
Such a great conversation.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah. No, and I think a lot of times we can pit events against each other. And I'll hear even youth pastors sometimes saying, oh, well, we're all about discipleship. We don't do any of the extra zazz. And often they're speaking maybe out of insecurity. Maybe they don't have the gift mix to be an event planner.
Or the resource.
Because when you're called into full-time ministry, you don't think you're an event planner,
It's true.
Or, and I was going what you said, they don't have the resources.
Yeah.
So there's this insecurity going, well, look at the big church up there. Of course they can do free food every week. And I get that reality, and we need to be sensitive to that. But let that not be how then we have an attitude or how we function or make a theology out of it.
Yeah.
Just be real with where you're at, what resources you have. And I guarantee you, if you're at a church of 30 people, you got one person in that church that would love to make fresh baked cookies every week for your youth ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Make that the event.
Sister Becky.
I mean, it's crazy how many things I've done on a Wednesday that's really not that cool. We did an H2O bar. Come on out to Next Gen, to Youth Church, because we have an H2O bar.
That's incredible.
You're not going to want to miss it. Kids came out there pouring the different flavorings in the water. We had sparkling water. We had distilled water. I'm telling you, it was in the middle of the summer. And we did. So the cop out of, well, we don't have the resources, is just a cop out. Because water and those little mijos.
That's
Are they
son.
little mijos?
Mijos is a son in Spanish.
Oh, what was
like
it?
My boy.
Oh, not my little
Milo.
boys.
I think it's a Mayo or Milo. I don't know.
Milo, the little
Flavored
water things.
Flavored water.
Flavored water stuff. And, it's not expensive.
We had them little mijos.
And so the events, well, why are we doing H2O water, all that? Because kids have friends that don't go to church, and they're thinking it's hilarious. H2O bar, what is this? They come out, they hear about Jesus, there's this partnership. Yes, we need to make the call that Jesus is the only way, truth, life, no one comes to the Father but through him. Yes, we need to have discipleship, but everybody starts somewhere. And we need to have ministries that are open to everyone.
A lack of resources is an open door for creativity all the time. Like these. If
I love it. Say that again. A lack of resources.
A lack of resources is an open door for creativity.
Yeah.
If you have these parameters, you find a different way. I feel like having all that resource sometimes diminishes creativity, because you're like, oh, we'll just buy it. We'll just do this.
So good.
We can just afford it. But for me, in my experience, we didn't have a lot of money when we were in a youth pastor position. And so we got real creative. So I love the H2O bar. We did crazy things like we just had a dance party. Like if you had a Bluetooth speaker and just some hype, you can definitely have a moment there. But then and events are so important because Jesus himself went to events. Like when he got lost.
His first miracle.
He got lost at the temple at 12. That was an event he was going to, or his first miracle was at an event. And so Jesus went to events, and I think it's important that we also go to events too. But if you're going to throw it on, don't let resource be a reason why you can't.
Yeah.
Excuses don't win souls. Solutions advance the kingdom.
That's okay. Yes. Say that again.
Yes. Excuses don't win souls. Solutions advance the kingdom.
Yep. Yep. If you don't hear anything else today, don't make excuses.
Yeah.
God's given you what you need, when you need it, where you need it. He's given you all that you need. And we pray that you would feel that today.
Yes.
As we talk about events, as we talk about, really, today was all about newbies. They were coming in, first year of ministry, some going into different, both of them, the callers, different ministry. And so what are we going to call this episode today? Let's call it Newbie. News for the newbie?
Newbie news.
The
news,
newbie
news for the newbie.
News.
The good news for the newbie.
The good news for the newbie. Or something like that.
We'll workshop that.
We're going to work it in.
Yeah.
We'll see you back on next episode, Better Call Matt, where we take your calls and we unpack your questions. Should we try that again?
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
That's so good.